Hey guys, I'm here from Mariko. Yeah, thank you for having me. I've got a few questions for you, Mariko. The first one is about JavaScript in universities. Some universities, like Stanford, for example, they're starting to introduce JavaScript in introduction to programming instead of the traditional ones like C and Java. So what do you think about this? What's your opinion, first of all? And what are the advantages or disadvantages, if there are any?
Okay. So I think it's great. Go for it. So I didn't study computer science, but I did take part of like a core program. I did take computer science one course, and it was C. And I got A, and then I don't remember anything. I took computer science instead of math because I thought I was always like using computer, and I was like, programming might be nice. I was interested, but it was just like, it was so like not there. And then like what was missing later, a few years later, I studied JavaScript myself. And when I did the JavaScript, it was just like type something and then like something moves on the browser. It's like immediate gratification. There's no compiling, there's no error. And then somebody like visual learner, I just talked about, how I like visuals. So like, it just suits me. I know like a lot of people who love C and like that works for them, that's great. But it's just portable and it's everywhere, and you can start it with one browser, which is basically anywhere. So huge thumbs up.
Right. The next one, JavaScript functional or object-oriented?
So I went into like writing JavaScript like a weird way. Like I started writing for my hobby, and then it became job, but not like I tried to be a programmer first. I was on the job writing these like tiny tools, and the boss was like, well, you can code, so move to product team. So I never had this like strong opinion senior engineer saying like, you should learn object-oriented or you should learn functional. But I guess I like writing functional way. It's just like suits my brain. Well, in my old job, I used to do a lot of data visualization. So I use a lot of _JS to manipulate data, and then underscore is like totally like functional way. So just by way of my experience, I like functional, but no strong opinion about which is better or not.
That's a very diplomatically correct answer.
I'm Japanese.
The next one, transpile or no transpile?
Depends. So I just talked about how compiler works and how Babel works, and maintainer of BrazilJS is a really good friend of mine based in Europe, and we joke about like how people just use Babel preset stage 0, which means like anything, like the wild wide west of like JavaScript. Like somebody had an idea and wrote a plugin for it, and then now you're using it in production. That's scary. But something like a stage 3, which means that the TC39, the JavaScript committee for like the standardization committee for JavaScript, decided that like this is a good idea. We have a good spec and concrete examples. It's kind of like ready to be used, and then they're waiting for the developer feedback. Like those features, I think you should totally transpile and then send the feedback so that stage 4 is the last stage, means like this is official, the syntax is now in JavaScript. Like you should totally use it like stage 2, stage 3 when things are kind of serious, because I go to TC39 meeting. I went to the past 2 meetings, and they are desperately needing input from web developers. So depends, but you should use it if something is kind of legit.
Yeah, very diplomatically correct. Okay, next one is, what advice would you give for someone who is a JavaScript developer just entering the market?
Entering the market. So I get a lot of question about how do I get job, like first job. Just because again, as I mentioned, like I started as a hobby and then like gradually became job. So, and then like I don't have a computer science degree or like went to boot camp or anything. I was just like, happened to be there when somebody needed to write code. And, I get a lot of questions from those people who are like, hey, I'm kind of like writing JavaScript, but like I don't really have like a traditional background. I just tell them like you should build something. Like I know it takes time, and I know maybe you have like other job that is really busy, but only way I was able to get a programming job was because I was making my own stuff. And it doesn't have to be like world-changing, super awesome, startup-worthy idea. I was making program for knitting. Because I like knitting.
Yeah, right about that.
Yes, I like knitting, and like I wanted to help myself doing my hobby with another hobby, which is coding. So I was making this, but through doing that, I learned about compilers. I learned about like data structures. It's just like I kept going and like adding more stuff to it just because I liked the project, and then I didn't hate it. Like like this is like. Sometimes people say like, what's the point of you making knitting projects? But it's like, it's fun. And then like my interest keeps going.
Yeah.
And like if it was like, oh, I want to make money with this like app that I made, I would never like put that much effort.
You literally see the passion. The last one is, what do you think about the presence of women in the universe, in this universe? Not just JavaScript, but technology in general. And what more needs to be done in this question?
Okay. So I was really lucky that, so I'm from New York, well, I'm originally from Tokyo, but I live in New York, and I'm in New York JavaScript community for 3-4 years now. And we have New York is a very diverse place, and the New York JavaScript community is awesome. There's like so many women and so many like meetup. There's like meetup every week, and each meetup really focus on having a diverse speaker set, not just women, but like the ladies and like the like all of like the spectrum. So I was really lucky. When I go to other conferences in different parts of the world or different parts of the United States, I can see that's not the case, and it's really sad, but also like it's good that like there is like something to improve. I would say that just showing up and then having like one person at like the meetup and just like be friend with them, because all I do with my women community is that like, hey, I made this cool stuff, and I might not go to this other male engineer on the community group saying like, hey, I wrote this like JavaScript knitting stuff, and then he might say like, so what? But like my like a lady friend will like, oh, that's awesome. Like that's all I need, right? Like
yeah,
that's all I need. And like you should have those networks. You should build those networks, and you should not criticize each other for like your work. Like you should just be friend, and like that's what you did is awesome, cool. Keep going, and then just like.
You don't have to wait. You can yourself be proactive. You can start the movement.
Yeah, so I get a lot of women who live in like a remote area where they don't have meetups, and it's like, yes, it's really hard to meet somebody in person, but maybe you can find it online. I'm in like this like a Slack group of like women software engineers, and like there's I don't know how many of them are in there, like maybe hundreds. Like probably I only met them in person like 5 of them out of 100. And it's just like I feel like BFF. Like I know everybody's up to, where they work, what kind of project that they are doing. Reaching out usually works. If I have something in common that would work too, it's like I would not like totally reach out to, I don't know, like some other parts of the country that doesn't speak same language or doesn't write same programming language to like, hey, let's be friends, right? But like, I would totally reach out to somebody on Twitter that is writing similar project or, same language, and then just like, hey, I have a question, or like I made a thing, what do you think?
Thank you so much.